The first trailer for Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 3 is here. Well, it's been here for a while, but I'm just getting around to making a video. We've got our first look at Paul Atreides as Emperor, a fully grown Alia, Robert Pattinson playing the strangest character in the franchise so far, and yes, Duncan Idaho is back from the dead. Well, sort of. We'll get there. In this video, I'm breaking down every shot, every reference, and every book detail packed into this teaser. So by the end, you'll know exactly what we're walking into when Part 3 hits theaters. Now, a quick spoiler warning before we dive in. We're going to be talking about Dune Part 1, Part 2, and a lot of what we know from the source material, Dune Messiah, which the film is adapting. So if you want to walk into Part 3 completely blind, or you haven't seen Part 1 and Part 2 yet, this is your exit. For everyone else, grab your still suit and let's go. Now, before we get into the trailer itself, a little context is needed. Dune Part 3 is based on Frank Herbert's Dune Messiah, which is the direct sequel to the first novel, Dune. And in the book, the story picks up 12 years after Paul Atreides unleashed his Fremen armies across the Imperium and crowned himself emperor. But here's the first big change worth talking about. Villeneuve confirmed at the trailer launch event that the film is set 17 years after the events of Part 2, not 12. And the likely reason is Alia Atreides. In the book, she's already a toddler walking around at this point, but in Villeneuve's version, she wasn't even born by the end of Part 2. And so the extra 5 years lets her grow into the character we need her to be. Now, the core story of Dune Messiah is this. Paul is emperor, but his reign is rotting from the inside. His Fremen armies have spread a holy war across the galaxy that killed billions with a B. There's pressure on him to produce an heir, and a conspiracy is forming in the shadows, an alliance of the most powerful factions in the Imperium who want him dead. All while Paul, with his prescient sight, can see the disaster coming and is desperately trying to find a path through it. If Part 2 was all about the rise, Part 3 is the reckoning. The trailer opens on something deceptively simple. A small basin of water, and someone washing their hands. Now, for book readers, this hits immediately. There's a moment in Dune Messiah where Paul notices an open puddle of water on the streets of Arrakeen and is struck by how unthinkable that would have been just a few years earlier. Now, remember, Paul promised the Fremen a green paradise, and he's delivering on it. Arrakis is being terraformed, but a lot of the Fremen, the people who built their entire culture and identity around the desert, are starting to resent what they were promised. That tension is foundational to the whole story, and the trailer signals it from the very first shot. It's subtle, it's beautiful, it's very Villeneuve. Then we cut to Paul and Chani in a tent, talking about what they named their kids, and this appears to be a flashback. Both of them look younger, more at peace, the way they did in Part 2 before everything went sideways. Chani is also wearing the blue Fremen scarf, which in their culture signifies either that a woman has given birth to a son or that she is romantically bonded with a partner. So this checks out for her relationship with Paul, but it also fuels the long-running fan theory that Chani may have been pregnant by the end of Part 2. They discuss two names. If it's a girl, Ganima, which in Fremen means spoil of war. Book readers will remember Paul received a Ganima after defeating Jameis in single combat back in the first book, a prize that came with a heavy cost. And if it's a boy, Leto, after Paul's late father. Now here's a juicy book detail. In Dune Messiah, Paul and Chani actually have twins, Leto and Ganima, and Paul, the man who can see the future, did not foresee twins. He only ever saw one child, It's a small but devastating moment in the book that hints at the limits of what Paul can do. And whether the film keeps the twins is a bigger question. Casting-wise, we know that Nakoa Wolf-Momoa and Ida Brooke have been cast as older versions of Leto and Ganima, so the kids are definitely factoring in somehow, possibly through a flash-forward sequence. Right after that tense scene, we see who's been washing in that water basin, and it's Paul. But this Paul has a shaved head, and he's clearly years removed from that quiet moment with Chani. Based on what we're seeing, the trailer is showing us that at least 3 distinct eras: a younger, more hopeful Paul, a Paul in the thick of a holy war, and a older, harder Paul with the shaved head. This actually suggests that something interesting is happening structurally. Dune Messiah, the book, doesn't really depict the Holy War directly. It just tells you it happened. And so the fact that we're getting so much footage of it in this trailer suggests Villeneuve may be cutting back and forth between the war years and the present day political thriller side of it, or dedicating a big chunk of the first act to the jihad itself. Either way, we're getting more of it on the screen than the book ever gave us. Speaking of the Holy War, the trailer is loaded with battle footage. Paul walking through the wreckage of conquered worlds, Fremen warriors leveling planets that refused to bend the knee. And leading the charge, of course, is Stilgar, cutting down anyone who stands against his Lisan al-Gaib. Stilgar's arc across the books is one of the most quietly tragic things in the whole series. He starts out as this skeptic, then he becomes a believer, and by Messiah, he is a full fanatic. So devoted to Paul that he doesn't even understand why there should be limits on Paul's power. To him, this isn't a man, this is the Messiah. We might also catch references to specific battles mentioned in the book where a stone burner gets used. Hold that thought, because the stone burner is coming back. Anna Taylor-Joy is finally on screen as the adult Alia Atreides, and it looks awesome. Quick recap for anyone who needs it: when Lady Jessica drank the water of life in part 2 while pregnant with Alia, that act awakened the unborn child's consciousness and flooded her with thousands of generations of ancestral memory. She came into the world already aware. The Bene Gesserit have a name for this. They call her an abomination because there's a serious risk she could be possessed by one of those ancestral personalities. It's basically a built-in time bomb. In the trailer, we see her standing at the balcony of her temple, delivering rites to pilgrims who have traveled across the galaxy to worship Muad'Dib. She's the spiritual figurehead of the religion that legitimizes Paul's role. She blesses his Fredekin warriors before battle. She runs the Empire when he's away. She is in every way his most devoted weapon and his most dangerous unknown. There's also a beautiful shot of rain falling on Arrakis near her temple. In part 2, Paul had a vision of Alia surrounded by oceans on Arrakis, and this looks like the beginning of that vision becoming real. Now we get to the heart of Dune Messiah's plot, which is conspiracy. A coalition of the old Imperium's most powerful factions have decided Paul has to go. And we get our first look at 3 of the 4 major players in this trailer. Now, Florence Pugh's Irulan is leading what looks like the conspirators meeting. Quick reminder, at the end of part 2, Paul takes Irulan as his wife purely for political legitimacy. She is, to put it mildly, not super thrilled about that. In the book, this meeting is actually led by a Reverend Mother, but we don't see her in the trailer. Charlotte Rampling is still credited, though, as the Reverend Mother, and so she's likely showing up somewhere, possibly in a flashback. The Bene Gesserit angle in this conspiracy is genetic. They've spent generations of breeding programs producing the Kwisatz Haderach, and now Paul is about to scramble all of it by having a child with a Fremen woman. Their goal is simple: stop Chani from having Paul's heir and get Irulan into that role instead. We also get our first look, kind of, at a Spacing Guild navigator named Edric. He's enclosed inside this floating sarcophagus tank thingy, and you can just barely make out the shape of something massive and mutated inside. Now, Guild navigators are humans who have warped themselves through massive, lifelong doses of spice gas until they're basically barely human anymore, kind of fish-like. And the reason they exist is that humans use Holtzman engines to fold space to travel between stars. They don't actually move, they actually move space instead. But folding space without being able to see where you're going is suicidal. And in this universe, they can't use computers to do that calculation. So navigators use a limited form of presence to chart safe paths. The clever part of how the guild fits into this conspiracy, oracles block other oracles. Because Edric is using his prescience, his presence muddies Paul's vision. Paul can't see what the conspirators are doing. He can only sense the absence, the blank spot in his vision where they're operating. And then there's Robert Pattinson as Scytale, the face dancer. The Tleilaxu have one more speciality, and it's one that matters the most for this story: Gola. Now, a Gola is not a clone, not exactly. It's a body grown from the cells of someone who has died. They have no memory of their previous life. They're a blank slate. And the Tleilaxu can implant new skills, new mental conditioning, whatever they want. In the trailer, we see the conspirators bringing Paul a gift, a Gola of his dead best friend and mentor, Duncan Idaho, the man who in part 1 took down 19 Sardakar by himself before going down in glorious battle. The Tleilaxu have rebuilt him, augmented him as a mentat, a human computer, and renamed him Hayt. Yes, like the word hate, and it's deliberate. You can spot him in the trailer by the silver, almost white eyes. That's the Gola tell. We even get a quick shot of Paul and Hayt sparring, and you can see the echoes of Duncan's fighting style. The conspirators' plan with Hayt is psychological warfare. They want Paul to accept this gift, get attached to it, and then use it as a weapon to break him. Many of the Fremen will see Paul accepting a Tleilaxu creation as betrayal, and Paul knows it's a trap, but he accepts it anyway. Now for the big action set piece, the stone burner sequence. In what looks like a scene pulled directly from the book, Paul and a group of his elite guard are walking through Arakeen at night, hunting an insurgent faction. And then, light. Massive, blinding light. A stone burner is one of the nastiest weapons in the Dune universe. Officially, atomic weapons against humans is forbidden. The Imperium's hard line is so that anyone who uses atomics against people or planets faces total destruction. Now, Paul got around this in part 2 with a loophole, using the Atreides family atomics against the shield wall itself, not against the Sardakar. Lawyer move, respect. A stone burner is technically not a banned weapon. It uses atomic energy as its power source, but its purpose is to burn down through a planet's crust. The side effect, though, is that the explosive release of energy destroys soft tissue, and especially burns the eyes of anyone too close. In the trailer, Paul is front and center for the explosion, so yeah, we'll just have to see how he comes out of that one. Here's a surprise. In the book, Jessica spends Messiah on a long vacation back on Caladan with Gurney Halleck and never appears in the story, but the trailer gives us a flashback scene with Paul and his mother on what looks like Caladan. Here's a surprise. In the book, Jessica spends Messiah on a long vacation back on Caladan with Gurney Halleck and never appears in the story. But the trailer gives us a flashback scene with Paul and his mother on what looks like Caladan. Paul has long hair and is back in his Atreides uniform. But his eyes are blue from the water of life, and Jessica is already a reverend mother. So this scene must take place soon after the end of part 2. Paul says something heavy here. The more I fight, the more enemies fight back. How did Father do it? And Jessica replies, your father never started a war. This whole trilogy has hammered the relationship between father and son. Paul's struggle to live up to Leto's legacy and his growing realization that he's becoming something his father never was. Rebecca Ferguson said in interviews that she is only in 1 or 2 scenes of this film, and this looks like one of them. The final shot of the trailer is Chani, battle-scarred, harder than we last saw her, standing on the back of a moving sandworm with a crysknife in her hand and 2 enemies closing in. This isn't a moment from the book. Messiah briefly mentions some conspirators trying to smuggle a sandworm off Arrakis to start their own spice trade, and that may be what we're seeing here, but this is also a clear signal that Chani is going to be much more active in the 3rd film than she was in the Messiah novel. After how part 2 ended, with her storming off into the desert, furious at Paul, attracts. Frank Herbert wrote Dune Messiah specifically because he was watching audiences read the first Dune novel and walk away with the wrong message. People were treating Paul Atreides as a hero, a liberator, a romantic figure, and Herbert's response was essentially, no, you missed the point. There's a quote from him that I absolutely love. He says this, I wrote the Dune series because I had this idea that charismatic leaders ought to come with a warning label that reads, may be dangerous to your health. Messiah is the warning label. This is a story about the cost of putting your faith in any one person, no matter how gifted, no matter how chosen. Paul can see the future, but seeing the future locks him into it. His holy war has killed billions. His Fremen, the people he claimed to liberate, are losing their culture to terraforming, and the institutions that have grown up around him, the religion, the empire, the worship of Muad'Dib, are bigger than he is now, and he couldn't stop it if he tried. Villeneuve himself said that part 2 was a war film, but part 3 is a thriller. Slower, quieter, more introspective, more morally ambiguous. Audiences who came in cheering for Paul to take the throne are about to be asked some uncomfortable questions about what they were cheering for. Now, quick housekeeping for the cinema nerds. Greg Fraser, who shot the first 2 films, is not back as cinematographer. Linus Sandgren, the guy who shot La La Land and No Time to Die, is taking over. And based on the footage, the look is consistent enough that you can tell it's a Dune film, but there's a little different texture to it. The film is also, for the first time in the trilogy, shot on actual IMAX film, not IMAX certified digital. Real, physical IMAX film. So if you've got an IMAX screen near you, that's where this begs to be seen. So that's the trailer. We've got the conspiracy in motion, Alia's ascent, Hayt walking into Paul's life like a slow motion bomb, Chani back from the desert with a crysknife and an attitude, and Paul standing in the middle of it all, watching the future he tried to outrun close in around him. If Villeneuve sticks the landing on this one, and based on what we just saw, I think he's going to, Dune Part 3 is going to be one of the most interesting, uncomfortable, and important blockbuster finales we've gotten in a long time. What did you spot in the trailer that I didn't cover? Are you team Paul deserves what's coming, or are you still rooting for him? Let me know in the comments, hit a like button, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you on Arrakis.